أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي ربنا زدنا علما آمين يا رب العالمين. Let's continue with examples of al-kinaya. We know that in al-kinaya the literal meaning and the metaphorical meaning both can be taken. So let's see another example to learn more about al-kinaya. This Arabic sentence la ya'rifu ku'ahu min bu'ihi. So it can be translated as he doesn't know his who from his boo. So what does this really mean? Literally, we can say this sentence say that he doesn't know the difference between his elbow and his wrist, but it's not about anatomy. The real intended meaning is huwa jahilun or ghabiyun, or we can say la yafhamu shay'an, like he's ignorant, he's clueless, he knows nothing at all. So this is a classic kinaya that Arab uses to use to describe someone who is totally unaware or has no knowledge. And why we are calling this kinaya? Because we know that the literal meaning is talking about parts of the arm, but it's used to express ignorance, totally different meaning. So still, there's nothing stopping the phrase from being taken literally. Maybe the person really doesn't know the body parts. So it's indirect language that suggests a deeper meaning, and that's kinaya. Also, like saying that he doesn't know his elbow from his wrist is a very we can say clever way of saying this guy knows nothing. Like it's a polite or figurative way to call someone ignorant without directly saying it. Like doesn't know who from who means totally clueless. So this is another example for al-kinaya. Let's see another example. Tawilun Nijadi, Rafiul Imadi, Kasirul Ramadi, Izama Shata. So here in this phrase, Tawilun Nijad, the poet says long sword holder as a kinaya, as a metaphor where we can see that where it doesn't literally refer to the length of the sword holder, but symbolizes the extreme height of the person being described. This image, we can say, like conveys a towering presence, a person of a great stature. Also, the phrase Rafiul Imad refers to it is referring to tall pillars of a tent. Here, we can see because it is from a poem, so we can say that this poet employs Kinaya again here, and this time to signify that the person is of great importance or status in a particular place or group. So, just as tall pillars are very crucial to supporting the structure of the tent, this person is crucial in his community or position. So, Tawil Nijat is representing tall stature, metaphorically describing a person's physical height. Rafiul Imad, we can say it's showing the importance, symbolizing the person's role or status. So, this type of figurative language can enriches the description, transforming the literal into a symbolic portrait of individuals' prominence. So the sword holder is long. The pillars are high. So here the the sword holder is long. Again, it is not about the swords or the pillars. So this is the importance of Kanaya, and a very classic Kanaya where long sword holder and tall players don't refer to actual objects but instead symbolizing a person's physical height and status. And this literally this means, if we are talking about literally meaning, it talks about the swords and the pillars, but in reality it's metaphorical. The poet is using these images to indirectly describing a person's height and importance in a group or place without saying it directly. So, Saying the sword holder is long and the pillars are tall is a very clever figurative way of describing someone who is tall and important. It's indirect language that suggests something deeper about the person's status and presence. So, long sword holder means extremely tall, and tall pillars representing very important person. So, this is al-Kinaya. Then, Kasiru Ramad Izama Shata means a lot of ashes when it rains. So, what does this really mean, this Kasiru Ramad? So, literally, this sentence means a lot of ashes, Kasiru Ramad, when it rains Izama Shata. But it's not just about ashes or rain. The real intended meaning, we take it like it's referring to a generous person. The metaphor we can see comes from the idea that like when someone is generous, they give so much that it's as if they are scattering ashes, meaning they are giving without holding back. So why is this kinaya? Because we know that the literal meaning talks about ashes and rain, but a lot of ashes doesn't refer to actual ashes. It's a metaphorical way of describing someone who is extremely generous, always giving to others. So saying a lot of ashes when it rains is a clever indirect way of describing someone who is generous. Like it's like saying this person is so generous that they give endlessly. If they are always like as if they are always like spreading ashes around. So a lot of ashes means a very generous person. Also, there is nothing to stop this expression from being understood literally. Too, maybe a lot of ashes really do appear when it rains, but in this context, the deeper meaning is the metaphorical one. Kinaya just lets the sentence carry both possible meanings, a literal and a figurative one, depending on the context. So this is a very beautiful example of al-kinaya. Let's see another example. وَيَوْمَ this يَعُضُّ الظَّالِمُ عَلَى يَدَيْهِ. So, and the day the wrongdoer will bite on his hands in regret. So, literally, this sentence is saying he will bite. Yeah, yahaddu. So the wrongdoer, the zalim, and on his hands ala yadihi. But it's not just about biting hands. The real intended meaning can be biting on his hands is a kinaya, a metaphor that refers to the regret. The regret the wrongdoer is going to feel on the day of the judgment for their sinful actions. So this image conveys a sense of deep regret and um, this sadness, as if the wrongdoer in their shame is physically showing their sorrow by biting their hands and regret over what they have done. So, why is this kinaya? Why we are calling it a kinaya? Because the literal meaning talks about biting hands, but biting hands here is a figurative expression. It is used to symbolize a person feeling regret, shame, and frustration over their wrongdoings. Also, we know that sometimes we see people biting when they are confused. So it can be biting their nails. So it can be literally taken and can be used and metaphorically. So biting on his hands is a very clever figurative way of describing how someone will feel intense regret for their wrong actions. So it's like saying they will be so full of sorrow and sadness or remorse that they will express it physically by biting their hands. So we can say that the biting on hands, metaphorically, it is feeling deep regret. Also, it is very important to note that there is nothing stopping this phrase from being taken literally. As mentioned earlier, maybe the wrongdoer really will bite their hands in remorse on that day. But the deeper meaning here is about the regret they are going to feel for their actions. This is a perfect example of kinaya. The literal and figurative meanings are both possible, but the we can say that the figurative one is what is meant in this context. So, Alhamdulillah, this is another example of Al Kinaya. Let's see another example. إذا دخل شهر رمضان فتحت الأبواب الجنة وغلقت أبواب النار وسفدت الشياطين. So here, when Ramadan comes, the gates of the paradise are opened, the gates of the fire are locked, and the shaitan are chained. So this is from Sahih Muslim, Sahih Bukhari, and also from the Malik. So this is literally, this means like the gates of the Futihat Abwab al Jannah means paradise. the gates of the paradise are open, and the gates of the fire are locked. وَغُلِّقَتْ أَبْوَابُ النَّارِ وَصُفِّدَتِ الشَّيَاطِينَ Shaitan are chained. So here, what we are going to see, it's not just about literal gates and chains. We know that the opening of the gates of the paradise is symbolizing that during Ramadan, divine mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and rewards are abundant and opportunities of goodness are open to the believers. So the locking of the gates of the fire also indicating that during Ramadan, the chances of falling into sin and being led astray are minimized with the blessings of this beautiful month guiding the believers away from harmful actions. And also the chaining of the shaitan, the devils, is a metaphor, is a metaphor for how the evil influences and temptations are restrained, we can say, during Ramadan, making it easier for people to focus on just worship and their ibadah, their good deeds and their righteousness. So why is this a kinaya? Because we know that the literal meaning talks about the gates opening and closing and shaitan being chained. But the deeper figurative meaning speaks, about the spiritual state during Ramadan, how the opportunities for doing good are abundant and the chances of falling into sin are reduced because of the spiritual atmosphere. So, saying that the gates of the paradise are opened and the gates of the fire are locked and the shaitan are chained is a shayateen are chained, we can say, is a figurative expression that describes the spiritual blessings of Ramadan. It's a way of saying that during this month, it's easier to do good and harder uh, to fall into sin because God's mercy, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy, is abundant and evil influences are minimized. So, gates of paradise opened means opportunities for reward are abundant. Gates of fire locked means reduced opportunities for sin. Shayateen change means the evil influences are restrained. This is what we learned from this kinaya. While we know that the literal meaning could imply actual physical gates and chains, the deeper meaning is a spiritual one, showing how Ramadan facilitates and it is just facilitates goodness and makes it easier to avoid evil. And this is an example of kinaya where the expression conveys more than the literal elements, we can say. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So here this Futihat Abab al Jannah, the gates of paradise are opened, literally, and it's paradise, and we can take it as not just about actual gates, but the gates of the paradise, symbolizing the abundant mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that descends upon the believers, especially during the blessed times like Ramadan. Also, it is reflecting the ease and inspiration that believers feel in performing acts of obedience such as prayer, fasting, charity, and other good deeds. Because the environment is so spiritually supportive and Allah's mercy is plentiful. So, this literal meaning speaks about the actual gates of the paradise being open. But the deeper meaning suggests that during, we can say that special times like Ramadan, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy flows abundantly and it becomes easier for believers to carry out good deeds and actions of the worship. So this is al-kinaya. Now, let's see another example. اتقوا النار ولو بشق تمرة. So protect yourself from the fire, even if with one half of the date, and this is from Sahih Bukhari. So literally, it means اتقوا النار means protect yourself from the fire, even if one ولو بشق تمرة, half of the date, because it's not just about avoiding the literal fire or giving dates. We can say that it is protecting yourself from the fire is a kinaya. It's a metaphor that refers to doing good deeds, giving charity, and engaging in the acts of righteousness to shield oneself from the punishment of the fire in the hereafter. Also, it's a reminder to act with kindness and virtue to safeguard our souls, even if one half of a date we can say that it is highlighting that even a small act of charity like giving part of a date can make a difference in protecting oneself from harm and earning reward. Also, it is emphasizing that every small act of goodness counts. So, and why we are calling it a kinaya? Because the literal meaning talks about protecting oneself from the fire and giving dates. But protecting from the fire metaphorically refers to engaging in good deeds, especially charity, to avoid punishment. And half a date, we can say it just symbolizing even the smallest deed, smaller good deeds count. So protecting yourself from the fire, even if with one half of the date, is a figurative way of emphasizing the goodness of good deeds, doing good deeds, especially charity, to avoid the punishment of the hellfire. Even the smallest act of kindness, like giving half a date, can save you, can have a significant impact in saving one's soul. So protect yourself from the fire. Means to do good deeds to avoid punishment, and one half of the date, even the smallest good deed counts. So, while the literal meaning could refer to avoiding the physical fire through giving a date, the figurative meaning focuses on the spiritual protection through acts of charity and righteousness. And this is a great example of Kinaya, where the literal and figurative meanings are both possible, but the figurative meaning is the intended message. So, this is Alhamdulillah. Uh, we can say that Kinaya is a very powerful rhetorical tool in Arabic that allows speakers and writers to express deeper meanings through indirect language rather than just saying something directly. It uses metaphors or figurative expressions to convey ideas in a more vivid way. Whether it's talking about a regret, a good deed, or spiritual rewards, Kinaya is just adding richness and complexity to the message, allowing just the listeners or the readers like to reflect on the deeper truth being shared. So by using Kinaya, one can communicate complex emotions and also the ideas with elegance, also while still leaving room for interpretation. Like it's a reminder that language is not just about what is said but about what is meant, inviting the listeners, the audience, to think beyond the surface and uncover the layers of the meaning. So we can say that in short, we can say that this kinaya is indirect expression plus its deeper meaning. It's about conveying more than meets the eye. So this is Al-Kinaya. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. And in all this ilm al-Bayan that we learn, tashbih, al-Kinaya, majaz, and all this opens a beautiful window into depth and elegance of the Arabic language by exploring these main ilm al-Bayan's main type, like simile, tashbih, ista'ara, the kinaya, majazatli. We have seen how meaning can go beyond the literal to just touching the heart. Like it sparks our imagination and deliver important and powerful messages. And also, mastering these tools not only is going to strengthen our understanding of Arabic text, but also it is going to deepens our appreciation for the miraculous style and language of the Quran. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to apply what we have learned and continue our journey through the treasures of Balagha. Barakallahu li wa lakum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.